Hello, can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, leave a comment so that I'll know that you can hear me. Hello, if you can hear me, please leave a comment so that we know. Like if you can hear me, so that I'll know that people are online. We're only 3 here, so we'll have to wait for the rest. Please signal them to come online, please, because time is fast spent so that we can go and rest for the day. Okay, I can see some comments here. So we have to wait for the rest. So please drop it on your platform so that they can come online. Tomorrow is work so that we can rest and prepare for tomorrow. Let's wait and see how many. We are 14 now, so let's see wait so that I don't just start and the rest will be lost. So tell them to come online, please. Once you're around 60, then I'll just start. The rest will come and join us. Those of you online, do you want us to start? If you want us to start, just leave a comment. Let's start. Those of you online, do you want us to start? Leave a comment so that we'll just start instead of waiting for those who are not here. Marvelous. Let's start, Abby. Okay. So I'm going to start. We know we already have some revision already on my channel that I asked you guys to watch the last time. First of all, let me welcome everybody to this live revision class. Sorry it's live because I'm currently on leave and I'll be resuming by the time the exam starts. So there will be no time for us to have the revision on site. So that's why I had to ask your class rep if it's okay with you guys to do it online today. So we've had some, that aside, we've had some revisions I made, myself and Mr. Fedokolo, we did last time. So, and those ones cover a whole lot of the practicals we've done. I think we talked about microscopy, blood, respiratory, cardiovascular, jet, I think virtually everything. But this one is to give you a kind of breakdown of what you should expect. I know some persons were disappointed in the last exam. Sorry about that. But let's hope that this time around is going to be better. I hope so. Because I wasn't the one who set that question, but we hope that this time around everything will be fine. So I'm going to give you the list of all the practicals we've done. We'll start with that so that you will have that at the back of your mind. And I want to say this. By the time I resume from leave, if you have any question that you want to ask me one-on-one, I'll be around from next week, Monday. Free to come to the lab and see me, and I will put you through if there's anything you need specially from me to help you out with. I'll be glad to do that. So don't hesitate to come if you have any question or anything. You want to see the equipment live, you want to experiment by yourself. From next week, Monday, I'll be around for that, so you can come to the lab. So let's start with the list of the practicals we've done. First of all, know your microscope, the parts, what is being used for. I guess I know it came out in this last exam, so please know the uses of your microscope. We are not going to ask you to list any parts, I'm sure of that, but be able to identify it when you see it, and also state what is being used for, the function of a microscope, what we use it in the lab. We know that physiology, we deal with a lot of microscopy. So for the blood physiology practical, you can take down the list. PCV, we did PCV, ABO blood, bleeding time, clotting time, RBC, and WBC. Yes, we did this, and I have a detailed revision on it somewhere. While for the CVS, we did blood pressure and ECG. There's a revision on it on the board. I will still touch it, but let me list it. We have spirometry, respiratory physiology. We did spirometry, peak flow meter, breath holding time. While for renals, we had urine specific gravity and urinalysis, like the dipstick. For GIT, you should be able to know the effect of different substances on the salivary gland. For endo, your glucose tolerance test is there, is part of it. While for your repro, where we had some issues last time, we did pregnancy test, and semen analysis is also something that you can be asked, because I assume that you have been taught that in theory class. So even if we did not do it in the lab, but I know that you should have a little background knowledge on semen analysis. While for the general sensory system, we did about examination of the sensory system, superficial reflexes. I know that was one of your last year in course before this one, the last in course before this one, which Mr. Ogumili took you guys. I think I was on maternity leave then. They'll have the spatial senses, where you did the visual acuity test. I'm going to explain all these ones later. We have the auditory function test. Okay. I don't know if they did handle that in my absence while I was away, but we are going to talk about tuning fork. When you see it, you should be able to identify what it is used for. I don't know if you've seen tuning fork before, but I believe that that was done. So in case if you see that, so I think these are the list of the practicals we did. And like I always say in class, at least identify. You should be able to list all the equipments in the lab, all the equipments we did. I believe that's what we started with. We did that in 200 level, and some part of it also we did that this year and in your 300 level. So you should be able to identify all the equipment that we use in physiology lab. You should be able to state their functions. You should be able to, for those practicals that have values like the PCV, WBC, ROBC, you should be able to state their values. You should be able to state their values, because it is very, very, very important. And having said that, I don't know, do anybody have any question that you want to ask, so that we can start with that before I kick start with the revision? Do anyone have any question? Can you guys hear me properly? I don't know if you can hear me very well. Can you hear me very well? Do you have any question before I start? If there's anything you need me to ask or touch that you don't understand, because that's why I'm here. Is there no question? Is there anything anybody wants to ask so that I can start? Please, class rep, signal your people. We're only 34 online. I don't know why your people are not here. Okay, so let's start. So I'm going to start with my microscope. First of all, we will say identify. Sometimes we could ask you to identify states, list two parts of the microscope, because this is a total from your instrumentation down to all you've done to this level. So the MB covers every single thing you have done in physiology. Every single thing, nothing it will be left out, from microscopy down to the last class we had. Everything will be out. So you have a lot to do and a lot to catch up. So we'll start with microscope, because definitely is going to be out. So we can ask you to state two uses of the specimen. Let's assume microscope is specimen A. So we'll ask you identify specimen A, state two parts of specimen, and state two functions of, or two uses of specimen 2. Sorry guys, my network is very, very bad. I don't know why. Have you seen this before? Have you seen this before? Hello, can somebody, I don't know, can we continue? Because I feel the network is really bad. It's really obstructing. So I don't know, can you guys manage it? The network is bad. Network is really bad and I'm not really happy about it. So let's just start. So I said this is called a Snelling chart, and it's used for visual acuity test. In case you see it on the exam day, we'll ask identify the specimen and state is for what it's used for. It's used for visual acuity test. So let me just say, even though we are not going to ask you to explain the procedure, you should know that another the normal visual acuity or normal vision for a person that has a very good eyesight is 6/6. Okay, sorry about the network. So the normal vision is 6/6, and for someone that the vision is very, very or hyperactive vision, the person has 6/5. And how is this done? The principle behind it, we place this chart 6 meters away from the subject. So this Snelling chart is placed 6 meters away from the subject, and we have to ensure that there's proper lighting. For those of us who have been opportune to go to the eye clinic, you've used this, you know what it is, you've experienced it. You make sure that there is good lighting so that the person will be able to see it, and you ask the subject to cover one eye and use the other one, not pressing it, just cover, and use the other one to read the alphabet. The first one here is 60. I don't know if you can see. It's upside down. Sorry, I'm using my front camera. It's 60. We have 36. We have 24. We have 18. We have 12. We have 9. We have 6 and 5. So somebody who can read up to this line, we say the person has a visual acuity of 6/6. For somebody that can read up to this one, we say 6/5. That is, the person's vision is hyperactive. While there are some person who can read this one, but it's very, very rare, but people can read it. So you cover the eye and ask the person to read with that eye, and you take the reading, whether it's 6/6 or 6/60 and thereabout, and you repeat for both eyes. I don't know if I'm making sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get it? Okay. So I should continue, Abby? So like I said, we have and visual acuity is recorded as visual acuity equals to D, small d over capital letter D, small letter d over capital letter D. And that small letter D is the distance of the subject from the chart, which is 6 meters. While the capital letter D in the formula stands for the distance at which a normal person can reach that line. We are not going to ask you this. All you need to know is identify it when you see it and state what it's used for and the normal visual acuity. These are the 3 questions that will come out from this. So we have the normal visual acuity of 6/6, which is the normal one for those that have a good eyesight. We have those that have mild reduction, which is 6/9, and for some persons like us that our sight is very bad, we have like 6/60, which means that we can only read the first letter. So is that clear? And also this is also used to check some eye defects, and we have the normal vision, which is 6/6. And I know you've been taught some of these things. We have the myopia, which is short-sightedness, which simply means difficulty to see objects in a distance. We have the hypermetropia, which is long-sightedness, difficulty to see objects that are closer. We have astigmatism, which is distorted vision. Is that clear? Can we proceed? Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is precaution. And I want to say something. Have at the back of your mind that during your viva, you could be asked any question from our practical. Yes. For most times we bring the instruments. Some of the person who comes might ask us to get some instruments or equipment or apparatus for them. So you could be asked some questions from our physiology practical. So this revision covers what you should expect in case the person who is coming for the external examiner asks you any question from our practicals. So we have precautions to be taken when performing this practical. We have you ensure that there's adequate lighting, avoid squinting of the eye, something like, you can see my face where my eyes is, something like this. Do not allow subject to memorize the charts. You are not expected to memorize it. Read what you can see. Actually, like, since it's for class, but if you are going for eye checkup, you are doing yourself a disservice. And another thing, another precaution is test each eye separately. So you are going to test this eye from the right eyes separate from the left eye, with that to be able to know which eye is having issue. And there's some common viva question that you could be asked in your viva question is, what is visual acuity? Why is the test done at 6 meters? What does 6/12 means? And what are the causes of reduced visual acuity? What are the things that can cause reduced visual acuity? And you can also be asked to differentiate between long-sightedness and short-sightedness. These are some of the, you've done, I believe you've done all these ones in the class. We are not going to ask you this in practical section. Identify, list, and once in a while you have some question like, what is visual acuity? We could ask you that. And what does 6/12 means? If you can ask you. Then some, why is this test important? The clinical significance of this visual acuity. One is to detect refractive errors. And two, to screen for eye diseases. For those of us that have some eye defects, this is one of the tests that you will be asked to do, refractive test. Another thing is used in routine medical examination. So that is it. So is there any question on it, so that we'll go to the next one? Any question? Yes, I've seen Adesheyiolu. Okay. Yes, I'm already, you said we didn't do it yet, so that's why I'm touching it. So any question? Do you have any questions so that we can proceed? Should I proceed? Yes or no? Should I proceed? Okay. So I want to show you this. I don't know if you've seen this. Somebody is asking Heritage 4. Yes, the video will be uploaded after live. But it's better you are here so that you can ask question if you have any question. You are watching it later, but I will upload it after the live. For Heritage 4 that is asking. I don't know, have you seen this before? This is called a Sahara chart. It's for color blindness. For color blindness test. Sahara chart. So use it to check for color blindness. Let me check our practical manual and see the equation that is there. So that is it for visual acuity test. So please make sure you answer all the questions in your thing. Give this signal of this experiment: astigmatism, presbyopia, big with this thing. Please answer your practical manual. Another thing I would like to say, please fill in your practical manuals. Fill it in, because on the door of your exam, physiology exam, practical exam, we ask, we collect it. So you will come with it. Please fill it up. All the practicals we've done, fill it up because it will be part of your continuous assessment. Fill it up. We will collect it after this. All the practicals we've done, and we are going to mark it. So let's go to the next practical, which is, I'm trying to be very fast so that I'll be out of this place soon. General sensory system. So we have, we are going to be talking about the light touch. That is on your practical manual, page 48. Please, if I ask question, answer, because to help me know. I'm trying to see if I can write. So page 148 and 149. Look at it. Look at it, or if you have your practical manual, please check, go on it and look at it. Did they touch that one in my absence, please? Answer, or let's be fast, so that somebody will go and sleep. So I'm going to start with that. I don't know if nobody is replying, so I don't even know. Can I proceed? Can I proceed? Okay. So we are going to start with that. We have on this page, we are going to ask you, please, have you ever seen this? This is called a patella hammer, and it comes with a brush. It comes with a brush. And under this thing, under sensory system, we have the light touch. And under this light touch, we have different type of sensation that is being tested. We have the superficial sensation and the deep sensation. Under the superficial sensation, we have the touch, pain, temperature. We have that is light touch. We have the thermal sensation, appreciation of vibration. We have the cutaneous sensation. But I know that you are supposed to have done the light touch, where a subject is asked to close his or her eyes, and we use a cotton wool. We use a cotton wool or this brush. We use a cotton wool or this brush to touch the ear or touch any part of the body and ask the subject to identify where was touched. I think my lightning is poor. think the lightning is better now. So that is it. We ask, so for the light touch, the subject closes. I'll use a piece of cotton wool or camel hairbrush to touch the subject. Ask the subject to respond yes whenever the person feels the touch, and that's also what you should expect in this exam for this is to be able to identify this and which experiment or which practical that we use it for. This is something like this. We can put cotton wool or we can put this one. So we have another one, the thermal sensation. We are not going to ask about that because we cannot do with this thing. Then the vibration. Sorry, I don't have my tuning fork. I don't know if you've seen tuning fork before. Your tuning fork is used for vibration test. The patient closes eye and you tap, and when the person you tap and when the person stops hearing the sound, it signals. It's on your practical manner page 4. So for this general sensation, you should be able to identify this, the what is used for. And another question that then we'll talk about the superficial reflexes where we use the patella hammer and couch. I remember you did that. That is part of your this. Let me see the question. I have a question on it. So what you should expect from that this thing. So let me check. Let me see the question you will expect. Sorry guys, I have to. No, I will give you that question. So let's just continue. So you should be able to. Let's just continue. I will look for it and send it to one of you later. Are you guys following? So for the kind of questions that you might be expecting, like we can ask you to list the type of sensation, difference between superficial and cortical sensation, what pathways carry fine touch. These are some theory questions, but they sometimes we do ask theory questions in practical, and that is it. Identify this tuning fork, which experiment is tuning fork used for, audiometer, and the rest of that. So if you want more explanation, you can come to the, when I resume, you can come to the lab or do more on that. I will show you because that is it. So I think we are done with that. Let me go to, so let's start with blood. Microscope, I've talked about, before I start, do you even have any questions so that I don't just be talking and be going? Eh? Any question? Okay, no question. So let's start. So I'm going to run down the other ones from beginning. So let's start with, for example, we are going with microscopy. I've talked about microscopy. You should know what it is used for. You should know what it's used for. I'm not sure everybody is on this thing with me. I hope what I'm saying is in line. I don't know, because I'm seeing some question of something I've asked before. I'm going ahead though. So for microscopy, I've talked about it. Identify, you should be able to identify when you say microscope, state two function, used for microscopy, used for semen analysis, used for WBC and ROBC count, used for and so many other things. So you Google it. You cannot ask more than two. We talk about parts of the microscope. You should be able to list the parts of the microscope: objective lens, the stage, coarse adjustment, fine adjustment. That's for microscopy. Let me. Have you ever seen analytical weighing balance? Okay, we don't ever have, so let me leave it. You should be able to identify the different sample containers. I showed you that one in class. Different sample containers. We have the EDTA, fluoride dosylate, heparinized container. We have the plain containers, and also should be able to state which of the practicals that they are used for. I gave you that. I've explained that before. And for I'm trying to rush so that we've already spent 1 hour. And for this thing, PCV, you should be able to state the different the values for the male and for the female. PCV for the male and PCV for the female. You should be able to identify the apparatus and the equipment that we use them for. You should be able to state that the equipment and the apparatus. I think I have a detailed revision, a detailed video on it. You will go and watch it. I will send the links to your class rep later. So you should be able to identify the microhematocrit reader when you see it and what it's used for. You should be able to identify the centrifuge when you see it, the microhematocrit centrifuge when you see it, and what it's used for. It's used for centrifuging the capillary tube for PCV. Okay. ABO blood grouping, when you see the ties, you should be able to identify it. Another question, another thing I want to remind you, I always state it because it might come out. You should be able to identify this by their color. Please know that by their color. You should be able to identify it with their color. Always remember that the yellow one is antigen B, the blue one is antigen A, and the plain one is antigen D. Always remember that. You should be able to identify this when you see it, when we place it on the table. I don't know if it's okay. Can you see? You should be able to identify it. filter paper, and the sphygmomanometer. I think I've talked about, okay, we've not talked about ROBC and WBC. Bleeding time, clotting time, it should be able to state their values, the different type of methods for each of them. I have a video. The video is already up on it. This is just, I'm trying to brush everything for you guys so that you understand. There's a video on it, so you can go and look at it. But if you have any question, okay, somebody said I should come again with the color. The yellow is antigen B. Yellow is antigen B. Is antigen B. We have the blue. The blue is A, while the plain one is C. No. Yes, blue is A. Yellow is Z, while the plain one is Z. Is that okay, John? You cannot. If you have any question, please ask class. That is why I had this. That is why we are having this revision class, because we have virtually all the videos online. Please ask question. I really want you guys to pass. That is the essence of this. If there's anything for me to help you out with, please ask. I don't want to have anybody resit the exam. Please ask. That is why we are here. Is there any aspect of the practical you want me to take specifically? Let's do that, please. Is there any aspect of the physiology practical we did that you want me to take? If there is, please just ask. I'm waiting. I want to have, okay, respiratory system and GIT. Okay, let's just do that. That is, so let me start with GIT. First of all, I know that the last exam, I think they asked people on bread, which is also theory part. But for this exam, hopefully I'm going to make sure I provide some of the things I'll be needing. So meat, chewing gum, salt, lime, and on their effects on the salivary gland. First of all, we'll ask you to identify the effect of each of these substances I've mentioned on the salivary gland. We are going to ask you to identify each of these substances. We know that meat has virtually all of them causes an increase in the salivary secretion. You have that at the back of your mind. Meat, chewing gum, salt, lime, they all causes an increase in the salivary secretion, but the increase is different. That is what we are asking. So for meat, now meat causes a moderate increase on the salivary gland. Chewing gum causes an increased effect, salivary secretion. While for lime, the secretion is also increased. While for salt, secretion of salt and chewing gum causes increase in the salivary secretion. While for lime, the secretion is massively increased because of the sour taste. So anything that is sour causes a marked increase in the salivary secretion. So I don't know if that is clear for that. And you should be able to know which of them is mechanical and chemical stimulus. We have the mechanical, which is the chewing gum. That is chewing, which has to do with the chewing gum. The mechanical, which is the taste receptor, where we place salt on your tongue and ask you to taste and tell us what it does. And the precaution, so you can ask also mechanical stimulation, which is the chewing gum. What does it do? It causes increased salivary secretion through mastication reflex. So chewing gum causes increased salivary secretion through the mastication reflex. While for chemical stimulation, salt and lime activates the taste receptor. Because now we drop them on your tongue and you taste it and you tell us what happens. While the sour taste, which produces the highest salivary secretion. So some of the questions that you might be asked is to which nerve supplies the salivary gland? You can be asked which nerve supplies the salivary gland, which is the facial nerve or nerve 7, and also the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is 9. These are the 2 nerves that supply the salivary gland. Taste, which you can also ask which taste causes maximum salivation, which is the sour taste. Normal salivary gland secretion per day. The amount of saliva that an individual can secrete per day is about 1 to 1.5 liters per day. We can also ask you the main salivary glands. We have the parotid, submandibular, we have the sublingual glands. So that is it for it. I think I've touched that in a hurry. So let's go to respiratory system. Let's go to respiratory system. So which of them do you should be able to, when you see spirometry, the experiment we use to check for static lung volume and capacity. That's what we use it for. I should be able to peak flow. Yes. Peak flow meter. You should be able to identify this when you see that is a peak flow meter, and it's the normal peak flow for an individual is 400 liter per minute. 400 liter per minute. That is the normal, but male and female have different distinct values. I'm trying to revise the last question exam you guys had. Okay, we are asked to list 4 parameters you can use specimen B for, which is the microscope. We are talking about, I want to have one revision with you guys, because that one is very important. Identify specimen A, which is the microscope. Specimen A is the glass slide, which is used for semen fluid and sorry, okay. Identify specimen A. I think the last exam where we placed a glass slide for you to identify. I think I'm sure there was a glass slide for you to identify. Another question you were asked is to the substance that we do take from the male and female body respectively and put on the specimen. I don't know if you understand that. I will do on the respiratory system, but I need to revise this one. It just came across my mind. So we talked about, that is one question you were asked, and seminal fluid and vaginal fluid are the specimen for repro. In case you see that question in repro, the glass slide is used for so many other things, but in this physiology practical exam, and you see it when it comes to this kind of question, know that you are talking about semen analysis fluid and vaginal fluid. I don't know if you get that. Another question that we can ask is, okay, involving repro, what is the use of microscope in reproduction? The use of microscope in reproduction. We use it for sperm count, sperm motility, sperm morphology, and sperm viability. That's what we use it for in repro. And also, another question I would like you to know is, Jessam's and Leishman stain are used in determination of dash. Determination of sperm dash. Jessam and Leishman stain are used in determination of sperm morphology. Sperm morphology. Please have that at the back of your mind in case such question comes out again. We have okay, types of sperm motility, types of sperm cell motility, types of sperm cell motility. We have vibrational and unidirectional. Vibrational and unidirectional. These are the type of sperm cell motility. We have another question again. What are the two important reagents used in serological tests for pregnancy? Two important reagents that are used for serological tests for pregnancy. We have the latex suspension and antiseral solution. Latex suspension and antiseral solution. Okay. Immunological tests detect dash form against HCG. Immunological tests detect dash formed against HCG. We have for that we have antibodies. The antibodies form against HCG. Okay, another question I would like you to take note of. State the enzyme responsible for the chemical digestion of specimen B. Okay. Okay, state the major chemical composition in specimen B. Where does its digestion occur? Remember bread. In case you see bread, this question has to do with bread. This question has to do with bread, and its digestion occurs in the mouth and small intestine. In case you see bread and we ask you, state the major chemical composition in that specimen, and where does its digestion occur? Bread, in brackets, carbohydrate, and its digestion occurs in the mouth, starts in the mouth and small intestine. So another question I would like you to ask, we have the alpha amylase and the hepatic amylase. Please, are you getting what I'm saying? Are you getting what I'm saying? Please, I need somebody so that I will know. Yeah, to not be I'm talking to myself. Okay. Okay. So another question that you were asked that looked strange that day. What experiment do you use lime and chewing gum for? What experiment do we use lime and chewing gum for? We have the experiment in salivary secretion. I already explained that, salivary secretion. And okay. Signify what the urine is used. Okay, what is lime used for? What is lime used for? Or what does, let's put it, the effect of lime on salivary secretion, it causes increased salivary flow. That is it. Then another question is, identify specimen C which was urinalysis test strip. You should be able to identify that. These are the way question. What is it used for? Used for urinalysis. Another question you were asked is the normal fasting blood sugar level, which is between 70 to 100 millimeter per dl. And I think the last question you were asked is what are the two major precautions to observe before doing blood glucose test? Which is the precaution? You have to fast overnight, and test should be done before 9 a.m. So I think this is the revision for your last in course. So I think let's do another one revision more before we call it a day, so that you see the kind of question that you might be expecting. So let's say question number 1, identify specimen A. We have the Newbar counting chamber and hemocytometer. This is not an exam question, no. It's kind of a revision. I brought out these questions to ask you guys. And we can ask you state two main functions of that specimen. Let's assume that specimen is Newbar counting chamber. So it's used to count red blood cell count, leukocytes, or white blood cells count. So it means that the Newbar counting chamber is used for red blood cell count and white blood cell count. That is what we use Newbar counting chamber for. Okay, this stands for this thing, morphology. You have the Jessam's and Leishman stain. Okay, somebody has even replied. Is there already Jessam's stain and Leishman stain? Class rep, your class people are not online. I think only about 28 of us, but the same will continue. At least I'm trying my best to make sure that everybody gets it. So I think I can go ahead, Abby. So another question, something pattern of question you can see is identify specimen B. Let's assume specimen B is sphygmomanometer. We ask you to identify specimen B, which is a sphygmomanometer, and we ask you to state what is used for, or the experiment is used for, which is to measure blood pressure. The sphygmomanometer is used to measure blood pressure. When you are asked to state one function, it's used to measure blood pressure, Abby. And also, we can ask you to state the average of the normal blood pressure, or the average normal blood pressure is 120/80 millimeter mercury. It can also be, it doesn't mean that below 120 is abnormal. No, it's normal. It's still okay. So another question again that we can ask you is, now let's filter paper / blotting paper. Filter paper is something as blotting paper, capillary tube or test tube. So we can ask you, let's assume we place them, specimen A and D, and say, okay, identify specimen AC. Specimen C is filter paper, specimen D is capillary tube. So we can ask you now, which experiment are they used for? So the experiment they are used for is for clotting time. I have a video on it, so I will send all the links to you guys. There's a video on it. I'll send the link after this class. So another question we can ask you is state the list two methods used for bleeding time determination. There are two methods that we use for bleeding time determination. We have the Duke's method and the Ivy's method. Please and please note these two, and note that both of them have different values. Both of them have different values, so note it. I stated that in the revision class. I will send that to you as well. So we have the Duke's method and the Ivy's method, and the Duke's method takes about 2 to 5 minutes, while the Ivy's method takes about 2 to 9 minutes. Is that clear? Okay. So another question about ECG that we are going to ask you, we might not, because I hope if you see the ECG machine, you'll be able to identify it. You should be able to know if you see the ECG paper, the graph, you should be able to know it and know what it's called. And know what it's called, please. So we can ask you another question on ECG. I'm talking about ECG now. That you can be asked is mention the types of wave that can be seen in a normal ECG. Mention the types of wave that can be seen in a normal ECG. We have the P wave, QRS complex, and T wave. Q wave, Q wave, QRS, P wave, QRS complex, and T wave. These are the normal ECG waves. And you can be asked another question that can come from ECG is list 2 clinical conditions that can be diagnosed with the ECG. 2 clinical conditions that can be diagnosed with ECG. We have the arrhythmia, which is irregular heartbeat. We have the myocardial infarction, which is heart attack. These are 2 clinical conditions that you can use ECG to diagnose. And know the difference between electrocardiogram and electrocardiograph. Know which of them is the machine and which is the paper. Please note this. I'm not going to tell you that, so that if you note it, you'll be able to see it when you see it on the day of the exam. You will not write them wrongly. Please note which of them is the electrocardiograph and electrocardiogram. Please note it. It's very important. So another question I would like you to know is antisera. I've shown you that already, antisera. So we can ask you, okay, let's see. What is the reason? Okay. List at least 3 major materials used for blood grouping tests. That is ABO blood grouping. We can ask you list at least 3 materials that we use for ABO blood grouping tests. And you know that we have the antiserals, which is A, B, and D. We have the blood sample. You can list the blood sample. You can list the slide or the blood or grouping ties. These are 3 materials that we use for blood grouping. And another question we can ask you is, why is it important to test for resource factor in blood grouping? Why is it important? And the simple answer is to check for compatibility during blood transfusion, and also potential resource incompatibility that can cause hemolytic disease of the newborn. I hope I'm not too fast, please. Am I too fast? Am I too fast? Am I too fast? Please, can someone answer? Let me know that I'm not too fast. So I think that is okay. Another question that okay. Another question that we can ask you is on ESR. What is the major reason for doing an ESR experiment? The major reason for ESR experiment. And also, you should be able to identify it. Let me see if I have an ESR too. Sorry guys, I'm not sure I have an ESR tube at home, so we'll just continue. So another, okay, you should be able to identify, please, if you ESR to be able to identify it when you see it on the table, be able to identify it with, it has a pipette with that round with the cap that contains the anticoagulant. Also know that the anticoagulant used for ESR is sodium citrate, is the anticoagulant for ESR. Sodium citrate is the anticoagulant used for ESR. So let me continue. So we can ask you, what is the reason for doing ESR experiment? And the simple answer is to check how quickly red blood cell settles to the bottom of a tube. Is to check how red blood cell settles to the bottom of the tube, and it checks for non-specific inflammation in the blood. It's also used to check non-specific inflammation in the body. And list 3 factors that can affect or can influence ESR values. 3 factors that can influence ESR value. We have age, red blood cell shape, size, gender, plasma protein level. These are the factors that can affect ESR value. And state name specimen here, and this is okay. Another question I want to talk about is microscope. Another answer to microscope. Let's say it's identify it and state 2 functions. You say microscope used to use things that the normal eyes cannot see. That is, but I've given you that already. We ask you, okay, list 2 main experiments where specimen E is used for. 2 main experiments when it comes to blood, we have for WBC count and ROBC count. I think that is the revision for this one. Okay. For ESR sedimentation rate, we have 1 to 13 or 1 to 15 per millimeter per hour for the male, and 1 to 20 millimeter per hour for the female. Okay. I'm trying to be fast so that we can call it a day. We spent almost 1 hour. Okay, there's something I saw now. Two conditions that can cause that there is increase in bleeding time. We have the hemophilia and thrombocytopenia. For Willebrand factor, these are the conditions where this thing can increase. The bleeding time can go up. Let me give you the question so that you understand what I'm saying. Okay, let me talk about coagulation time. I think we've done part of it. Identify the following specimen coagulation. In case you see a lancet, capillary tube, stopwatch, with the ones I've listed before. Okay, we can ask to name the experiment they are used for. State 2 conditions that can cause an increase in coagulation time. That's clotting time. 2 factors that can cause increase in coagulation time. 2 factors that can cause increase in coagulation time. We have the hemophilia, thrombocytopenia from Willebrand factor. These are at least 3 conditions whereby coagulation time is increased. Why for bleeding time, There are conditions that can cause an increase in bleeding time. We have when there's a liver disease, when there is platelet defect, and also uremia. When there's uremia, it can cause increase in bleeding time. I'm just trying to, time is going so that we can just rush up. And for WBC, we have, okay, I have a detailed video on it, so let me don't bore you guys down on it. So do you have any question so that we can call it a day? Do you have any question? Any question? Okay, so I want to list some of the events that we have in the lab so that you can look at them at your own time. So for the person that asked me about it's used to measure the peak expiratory flow rate, the maximum speed of air an individual is able to breathe out after a deep breath. So what I mean by that, the subject takes in a deep breath and is expected to blow into this is the mouthpiece, to blow into it. And there is a pointer here, you can see the pointer. So this pointer helps us to take the reading. So when the person releases all the air, this pointer that is moving will move to where this thing is graded. I guess you can see it's graded. So that is it. Okay, let's talk about the principle. It measures the airflow through the bronchia, and which depends on the airway resistance, the lung static volume, recoil, sorry, and effort of expiration. And the normal value for male is between 400 to 700 liter per minute. The normal value is approximately 400 to 700 liter per minute, while for adults is between 300 to 500 liter per minute. Also note that these values vary with age and height and sex. Male and female have different disease. Our height and our age and weight also affects this value. So let's talk and have at the back of your mind that it's recorded in liter per minute. In liter per minute. Interpretation is within if let's take for example a male blows it and it gets to 400 liter per minute, it means that it's within the normal value. And okay, and peak flow is used to identify or is used to check for asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, airway obstruction. These are these things that we use it for. Precautions that can be taken: ensure tight seal around mouthpiece. You also avoid coughing during the blowout. Reset meter before each attempt. Use maximum effort. And okay, clinical importance of this test: monitoring asthma severity. It's also used to detect early airway obstruction and assessing response to treatment. And common verbal questions that come with it is: what is peak flow expiratory flow rate? Why take the highest of 3 readings? Difference between okay, name the disease with reduced air flow and what factors affect it. I think that is it. So do you have any questions so that I can call it a day, because a lot of persons are already logging out? Any question? Any question? Okay, so there's no question. And so, like I said, if you have anything you need to find out, you are free to come to the lab. And if you still want me to explain more for you, you can come to the lab from next week, probably anytime you have chance. And because I will not be around this week, and we'll explain to you. So in with that, we call it a day, and I will see you guys when on the day of exam. And I wish you guys all the best. I will send the link to other this thing, the rest practical to the class rep, so that you can go and watch it when it's time. I think you've had that this thing, and okay, probably I will still record some and give. So I will see you guys later. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you too. I really appreciate it. And I hope the class made sense and you guys enjoyed it. Sorry that the network was really bad.